There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello and welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy, here with my friend and colleague Joe Stanley, who, like me, enjoys getting into some mindfulness and meditation. Good to see you, Joe.
Oh, great to see you, Darcy, as well. And yes, practicing mindfulness is something that we often talk about because for me, and I know for you too, Darcy, if you commit to it daily, and it's a practice, we have to practice it, it does set you on a beautiful path of achieving health and happiness and acceptance of whatever life throws you.
I feel like the most unlikely ambassador to talk about meditation, Joe. All I wanted to do was play footy as a kid, but I stumbled across it in 1997. I've pretty much done it twice a day ever since. Total game changer. I'm not sure where I'd be without it.
It's so much about being in the moment. Being mindful doesn't mean never thinking about the past or the future. It just means when you do think about it, you just let it go. You don't obsess over it.
Well said. Sounds very simple when you say it like that.
It's a practice.
Well, today is all about planning for the future, Joe. Now, we're at the end of the financial year.
During the week, I talked to money guru Effie Zahos, who I must say really cut through with some straight shooting advice on finances. And last week, we got a taste of what's to come from your mate, the Indiana Jones of health foods. This week, he shares his 7 principles of health that he uncovered after trekking around the world for 17 years. That is quite an intro.
He's a genuine character, Joe. He's one not to miss.
And Snakes Alive, we meet the woman whose work with those cold-blooded reptiles you love so much, Darcy, has helped her overcome major life trauma.
I'm fine with that, Joe, as long as I'm not in the room with them. It is okay. It's a great show coming up, apart from the snakes. And to kick things off, the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games were scheduled to begin in just a few weeks' time. Of course, both events have now been postponed until 2021, which is a blow to the athletes all around the world.
Cole Pearce is from country Victoria. His right foot was amputated when he was a toddler after a collision with a ride-on mower. But not even that was going to interfere with his dream, and that was to represent Australia in 2020 at the Paralympics. Cole's no stranger to adversity, so don't think for a minute that any COVID-inspired pool closures or obstacles will stand in his way of going for gold. Who would have thought that this 16-year-old cheeky-faced boy from a dairy farm in Echuca would go from this
representing Australia, Cole Pearce,
to this? Cole Pearce made people sit up and take notice when he picked up the bronze in the World Para-Swimming Championships in London last year.
I have sort of 3 main events, but the main one is the 100-metre butterfly. So the hard stroke, essentially.
It is such a hard stroke. I've never been able to master that.
I think, obviously, I don't know why I love it, I think the only reason I do like it is because I'm sort of good at it, because I think that's with a lot of things, is you like things when you're good at it. So, and me missing my right foot, butterfly is more of like an upper body sort of stroke. So having one foot and still having like my 2 hands, obviously. My shoulders are a lot stronger than my legs, so that's probably an advantage when doing butterfly. Oh, well, not an advantage, but it makes it easier for me.
But it wasn't about to get any easier. After his success in London, Cole had his eye on the bigger prize, the Tokyo Paralympics. But a world pandemic pushed that goal a bit further from his grasp.
Mum was always joking about if the pools do close in Victoria, you can always train in the Dairy Dam. So it was a joke, which like, haha, very funny, Mum. And then obviously once the news did break, it was like all pools, schools, everything shut. And so I came back home to the farm, and pretty much that's where it started. Mum was like, oh, looks like the joke's become reality now, hasn't it? So, and I'm obviously wearing a wetsuit when training in the dam. I'm not wearing a good old Speedo budgies. But even with the wetsuit, it's still freezing. Like my hands and my feet when I get out are red, and obviously the rest of my body's warm. But my face and stuff, it's freezing. So when I first jump in, you get that bit of like you can't breathe because it's so cold.
Do you find it harder to motivate yourself to train if you haven't got a coach with you?
Yeah, definitely. And especially with no teammates as well. So I'm sort of and especially in dirty water. So when I put my head down, it's nothing but a black blur, really. Mum's sort of my coach now, but I'm training for a reason. It's not like I'm training to keep fit or healthy. I'm training because I have a goal, and that's the Tokyo Paralympics.
So what are your hopes for the Paralympics once you get over there?
Well, I mean, ever since grade 3, so I remember in grade 3 we printed our foot on a piece of paper. So I had to copy my left foot twice. But on those foot drawings, we had to write in them what are our goals for our life. And I wrote a gold medal. Having a disability shouldn't stop you of doing anything you want to do in life.
I think you are truly inspirational. And I also love hearing you speak about your mother. She's obviously a huge part of your support team and really is key to your success.
Mum has never missed a competition. She has been to every single, even just the little local meets on the weekend at MSAC or down at the country pool at Echuca swim meet. She's always there. Mum goes to the competitions and Dad has to look after the cows and navigate the farm. So it's a bit of teamwork from both of them. But yeah, Mum has never missed a competition, which is awesome.
So I'm sure she's got a ticket sorted for Tokyo next year then.
Oh, yeah, she has.
Oh, he is truly one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. He's so delightful, and the way he adores his mum, oh, my heart breaks. He has an amazing family, and I want him so much to succeed when he finally hits the pool in Tokyo, whenever that is.
And anyone who can swim in that damn water gets my vote, Joe. Seriously, getting through the leeches, yabbies and mud is a particularly gruelling way to train.
Yes, the International Paralympic President has said next year's Paralympic Games will be extra special as there'll be a global celebration of human unity and resilience. Cole's aiming for no less than 10 medals, and he's got his eye on the prize big time.
Good on him. What a great story. Coming up, the 7 principles of health according to the whole food medicine man, plus a top finance commentator gives us some insight into surviving the recession. That's next on the House of Wellness. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. It's the news we were all expecting, but no one wanted to hear. Earlier this month, the federal government confirmed the country is in a recession. It's our first in 29 years, Joe.
There aren't too many people who haven't been affected by it, Das. Businesses, families, retirees, and there's a whole generation who've never lived through a recession. It's a whole new playing field.
Yeah, no doubt that the challenges have forced us all to tighten our belts and rethink our approach to budgets and spending, Joe.
I'm sure we've all been trying to work out what it means for each of us, which is why it was great to speak to finance commentator Effie Zahos, who has a knack for making money matters simple. Effie, we're all sick of hearing the word unprecedented, but it really is an unprecedented time. How would you describe the kinds of things families are going through at the moment?
Look, I've kind of been in the game talking money for over 20 years, Joe, and I have never, ever seen something like this, where it really has touched every income bracket, every person in one way or another. It's affected myself. You know, there are people that have become unemployed for the first time ever, that have had to line up at Centrelink, that are wondering, how am I going to put food on the table?
They're saying 700,000 jobs will be lost. Do you think it will be that or more?
Look, we lost about, 600,000 in April. We've just had the gross domestic product, your GDP numbers, and basically that's just like a scorecard on how the economy is going health-wise. We're expecting that to be a lot higher in the June quarter because that's when most of the lockdown will kind of take into place. I'm expecting numbers to be a lot higher than that. Some economists are predicting 1.5 million of us will have lost our jobs.
They're very scary numbers, and another really scary term is recession, which we now have heard we are officially in. What should people prepare for knowing now that we're in a recession? How do we manage this?
Yeah. Look, I kind of go into crisis mode. So, you've got your regular budget. We all kind of have heard that and how it works. Well, you can throw that out the window. What you need to put in now is a crisis budget. And what I mean by crisis budget is that sometimes, your money rules and tips just don't apply now. So, for example, forget about trying to save right now. Forget about trying to reach your financial goals. And I know that sounds terrible coming from me, but this is just a temporary measure. So it's a case of count all your beans. Where's my money going to come through right now? Is it job seeker? Is it job keeper? Do I have, if you're lucky enough to have an investment property, what's happening with that rent? So count all your beans, put in some crisis management hardship. So there's a lot of that around. And what I mean by that, contact your bank if you can't make your mortgage repayments. And don't take that lightly, because there's nothing free in this world. So when you hear of these mortgage repayments, mortgage holidays, it's not a holiday. You're going to pay for this afterwards. And that's okay, so long as you know what you're getting into. So activate any of that help you can get. Then, instead of thinking saving buckets, how we always talk about have these saving buckets, put up 3 expense buckets. Must have, need to have, love to have. Everything in your love to have bucket, rip it up, throw it away. You're not going to be spending money on that right now. And look, I have a love bucket. Mine are cushions. I'm known for that. I've said it. I love cushions. They're not happening now. I'm not spending any money on cushions. Focus on your must and need. I must have a roof over my head. I must put food on the table. I must be able to switch on my lights.
So what advice can you give us, knowing that there are so many different things that are causing this stress?
Yeah, well, I better not give advice because I'm not a financial advisor,
Sure.
but that's important, Jo. Don't get me in trouble now. I think it's important that if you are experiencing financial stress, do get some help. And if it is to do with a lot of debt, understand there is some great help out there. So the Debt Helpline, a great organisation. You've got financial counsellors. They're not financial advisors. They're counsellors that are trained to help you. Don't put your head in the sand. Please don't do that, because it will come back and bite you in so many different ways. So contact your lenders. Then sit down, as boring as this may sound, do that crisis budget I spoke about, and just see realistically, where is this money going to come in and how much can I control going out? You want to reserve your cash flow. And remember, the most important thing right now, a roof over your head, food on the table, and being able to switch on the light. That's all you got to focus on. And stay loved with your family, and we'll get through this.
Well, I like the way she prioritises what's really necessary, Jo.
Yeah, she breaks it down into bite-sized bits of information that make perfect sense. Simply, if you don't need it, then forget it. Plus, it's not all doom and gloom. The Reserve Bank is predicting the economy will bounce back, and we're doing a lot better than many other countries.
Which is good news, from finances to reptiles. Now, I know that's a pretty big leap, Jo, but after the break, it's all about the power of facing your fears when we look at the emotional healing power of snakes. And I can't believe I actually just said that.
Well, you should try it, Das. Face your fears and hold a snake. It's simple.
Do you know what? When it isn't your fear, it's very hard for other people to understand. When we brought that snake catcher into the studio last year, there's nothing fake. I hate snakes. It is an irrational fear. I understand it, but I know you think it's funny. It was a nightmare for me. I don't want to be anywhere near a snake. There's nothing beneficial at all to me around being around snakes.
Look, I totally understand it's a fear of yours, and I don't think you're unusual. Many people do fear snakes. And for myself, I wouldn't say that I always have loved them, but you know what I found is if you kind of surrender to what they're like and just sort of accept their energy, they're really quite beautiful. It's true.
Good for you.
It's probably not something.
Take your word for that.
It's not something you need to hear. But some snakes, how about this, can actually fly.
Flying snakes?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Or they at least sort of glide. Anyway, there's a species in Asia that have worked out that they don't need to slither along the ground, so they can just leap from tree to tree.
Are you kidding?
Avoid that part of the world, maybe.
No, flying snakes, that's all we need, seriously.
But that's not important right now. Coming up next, the life-changing snake story that gave one very fearful woman her life back. That's next on the House of Wellness.
Flying snakes. You're watching the House of Wellness. OK, Joe, it's no secret I despise snakes. I genuinely can't stand them.
I know you're not a fan. Snakes make many people shudder in horror, just like you. But one of the best ways to conquer your fears is to face them. So we've brought in another one for you today, Darcy.
Yeah, no, don't even joke with that. Seriously, I have no sense of humour around that at all.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. Actually, I'm not. No,
Yeah,
I'm just joking. What we do have, though, is an incredible story that might make you rethink your attitude to snakes. Barry Goldsmith's apprentice, who was helping Barry handle the snakes on the show last year, didn't always like snakes, just like you, Darcy, but she used her fear and turned that all around.
Snake catching isn't exactly your typical dream job.
Yeah, everything.
But for over 40 years, Barry Goldsmith has been absolutely wrapped.
I've always been an animal lover, and the snakes have had a pretty rough trot, you know. They've always been like the underdog, and I've always gone to bat for the underdog.
And while plenty of us are afraid of these slippery serpents, they have saved the life of at least one person. Barry's apprentice, a former nurse named Kelly.
Throughout life, I found myself in a family violence situation and was diagnosed with severe PTSD. My fear of everyone was probably more overwhelming than anything I've ever experienced. I was unable to work. I was unable to go outside. I was completely housebound, house-trapped. That's unhealthy, and you don't need to be a nurse to know that.
After months of isolation, Kelly began searching for a way to recapture her inner strength.
Most people are really frightened of snakes. Even my friends are frightened of my pet snakes. So if I was able to learn how to catch venomous snakes, then that should make me feel stronger.
I do believe I was sitting around having a cuppa in the morning, and I got this phone call off a girl, and she asked me if she could come and hang around with me while I caught the snakes.
They vary so dramatically in their light and dark.
Their colours and their patterns are like fingerprints. So
I sort of, in the first couple of meetings, let him know that it was therapy. I didn't want money. I wanted to just watch and learn.
You know, she just seemed really, really passionate about it, so I thought I'd give her a shot. Okay, now put the bag on the ground and grab both corners.
The first time she released a snake into the wild had an immediate impact.
Oh, look at you. Copperhead.
Yay.
Here's one. Rang everybody I knew. Guess what? Like a kid on Christmas Day. I'm so brave. It was something that reminded me of who I had been.
We put some bunting up just to stop the kids from having sticky beak.
Okay.
Every day that we're together, snake catching, I grow a bit more and I find a bit more of myself and I feel better and I feel stronger and I'm getting into the fresh air and I'm doing something good for the planet and I'm learning. And when you're learning, you stop focusing on perhaps things like trauma.
She has come out of her shell a lot. She seems very confident. You know, she seems to have blossomed. Okay. One local tiger snake.
I can go out to my letterbox and not be looking over my shoulder because I still have that inner strength of having come face to face with a dangerous animal.
Put him in the bag. There you go. Beautiful. Before I met Kelly, I didn't know a lot about PTSD. I didn't realise that how common it was, and that sort of opened my eyes a little bit too. I realised that there's a lot of people out there suffering it, and if we can get the word out there to help those people as opposed to brushing them aside, that's going to certainly make a lot of difference to a lot of people.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Working with Barry has been a game changer for Kelly, the key to her newfound freedom.
You have to find your inner bliss. You have to remind yourself to look for that each and every day. That's what helps you get to the end of each day and smile, as opposed to cowering and hiding. That doesn't help.
It's the best part of the job, isn't it? Well, one of the best parts of the jobs is the release.
No, it's the best part for me, hands down.
Has that made you do a U-turn on snakes, Darcy?
In no way at all, Joe. I grew up in a town where it was fairly commonplace to find king browns just wandering around, and I'm scarred for life. I have no interest in trying to overcome it. In fact, I'm very happy with my fear of snakes.
The way you say wandering around, it makes it sound like they're just down the shops, having a coffee.
Occasionally they were. It was a remote desert town. Anyway, I'll tell you about it another time.
All right, well, we don't see as many snakes in winter, but don't worry, Darcy, they are still around, as you would know. They don't hibernate as such, but do become very lethargic and less active and hide in underground dens, sheds and wood piles. So be careful when going out to get some wood for the open fire or perhaps getting a coffee.
Yeah, that's why
Darcy grew up.
central heating does the job very nicely. Thank you, Joe. From having nerves of steel when it comes to backyard encounters with creepy crawlies to helping our bones stay strong, here's Hinesy and Gerald Quigley with a healthy winter warmer.
Now, GQ, I know we're already sweet enough, but I'm going to take things to the next level with this delicious apple and mixed berry crumble cup topped with yoghurt.
It's an old favourite with a new twist, Hinesy. Well done, and I'm particularly looking forward to these new levels and how you're going to use yoghurt.
Well, yoghurt is that perfect finisher. It adds a lovely tart finish to any dish.
And it gives us the versatility as well, Hinesy, because it brings to us the benefits of calcium and vitamin D.
Now, we talk a lot about calcium and vitamin D when it comes to the muscle and bone health of kids in particular, but it's also beneficial for older people, right?
We can't forget we older folk, Hinesy. As we age, we need reinforcement of our bone mineral density, our bone mass and bone strength. So what we need to do is to reduce our risk of any bone diseases by making sure we have plenty of calcium available.
So it sounds like vitamin D and calcium work hand in hand, much like the berries and the apples in these crumble cups.
Yes, they do, Hinesy, because the vitamin D helps us absorb calcium. And as we age, we actually don't use the calcium and synthesise the vitamin D as effectively.
Are there any other vitamins that we can incorporate to help these work better?
Hinesy, vitamin K2 is another bone-friendly nutrient. And we find that in butter and cheese, but sadly we just can't eat enough of it to make a difference. So using the calcium, the vitamin D3 and the K2 in a supplement can be beneficial.
Well, GQ, while you're looking after the young and old, I am looking after our taste buds. Try this.
Thank you, Hinesy. It looks magnificent and it tastes superb.
Thank you. The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Oftalin, Australia's #1 bone health brand.
Welcome back. Last week, we met the man who's been on a lifelong quest to unlock the secrets to living a healthy, happy and disease-free life. His name is Tommen, and he's anything but your typical health guru, Joe. And the idea that food is medicine and that we can heal ourselves has resonated with me. And learning from all these ancient cultures and some of the things that perhaps have been lost over time is something that's resonated with me.
Yeah, I really love the sound of that, and he's promoting whole foods, so I love that as well. You did say last week, though, that he did a 40-day fast drinking only water for 40 days. It's very brave.
That is quite extreme. Not sure I'd recommend that to everyone, but fasting is something that we did for a long period of time previously, and he's travelled around the world on a quest to find ancient wellness remedies, earning himself the nickname the Indiana Jones of whole foods, and he believes there are 7 key principles of health that we've lost sight of in today's quick fix world of modern medicine.
The best air for our lungs to be able to deliver the oxygen that all of the cells need throughout the entire body is air that moves. The breezes outside that move the air create a negative ionic effect in the oxygen, and so the bronchioles of the lungs can uptake them faster. And so the healthiest air you can breathe is outdoor air. And too many people in today's world are stuck indoors 8 to 10 hours a day, and they don't get out there. And it's if every hour on the hour you could go outdoors and just walk around for 5 minutes or so, that's healthier. The The cleanest water that you can ever have is what they created and called it distilled water. That's what the sun does to Mother Earth. It evaporates, goes in the sky, smacks it with electricity, condenses, comes down as rain. And so if you get a distiller, and they're not expensive at all, and you can take your tap water and distill it, you've got the purest water there is. Sunshine is so healthy, it's brilliant. We need sunshine whenever we can get it. During the winter months in northern countries, they call it the dark ages, we need the sunlight on our skin and the biophotons of light to go in through the pupils, across the ocular chiasma into the visual cortex, and it activates the amygdala and the pineal gland, and it produces the molecules of happiness and joy. The sun is everything. Life is movement. If you don't use it, you lose it. And if you're working a full-time job and you can't go out and walk for an hour, well, see if you can go out and walk for 5 minutes out and 5 minutes back. And then do that 6 times a day, whatever. The foods are our medicines. They really, really are. And most people don't even know the power of bananas and what they heal and what they can do. I've had people that have horrible rashes and everything. And you take the banana peeling and rub it, the inside of the banana peel all over the rashes, and just do it a couple times a day, and it'll clear up. Sleep, good sleep, is the greatest gift you can have. And it helps to heal the body, to heal the emotions, to wake up happy and glad you're still alive. Relationships are so healthy when they're kind and you're filled with gratitude and love and caring and even laughter and good with each other and looking people right in the eyes and saying, I really love and appreciate you. And all of that is healthy. Toxic relationships create horrible emotional molecules that can go into different organs of the body and mess it up. And so if you've been in a toxic relationship for quite a while, you've got until noon tomorrow to get out. Do yourself and the other person a favor and just let go. Just let go, you know.
Well, they're not really new principles, Joe, around clean water and whole foods and, getting healthy sunlight, but I think perhaps the interest is around the relationships you have, and avoiding toxic relationships is an interesting point.
It really is, and to be given permission to recognise this is not healthy for me, it's not supporting me, I need to address it. And it's not easy necessarily to do that, but it's great to know that you should and you can.
Well, changing gear, Joe, when you think about exercising to tone and tighten muscles, my face doesn't automatically spring to mind, but we actually have 43 muscles in our face that get a workout every time we smile, frown, speak or yawn.
And forget Botox, chemical peels and facials. The 2020s are seeing face yoga and face gyms become all the rage and are literally raising eyebrows for anyone willing to give it a go. And the best thing is that unlike going to a regular gym, all you have to do is lie back and let your personal face trainer do the hard work for you.
Hi, I'm Jake Kisnorbo and I'm all about the latest beauty, hair and makeup trends.
And I'm Polly Harding, and working in radio, I've still got a lot to learn about the beauty biz.
Together, we're going to bust those beauty myths,
strip things back to basics and learn a few new tricks in the process. We give so much time to our bodies. We go to the gym, we do yoga. We've got 43 muscles in our face.
100%.
And we forget about that. What are we doing for these poor little things?
So, PJ, I don't know if you've seen at the moment, but on Instagram, there's so much being said about face gym, face yoga, and really about working the muscles on your face and looking after them. It leaves your face looking better and younger.
Especially since ISO, I've been so tight around here. Like, I've been holding a lot of tension.
So we all have frown lines and smile lines, and that's great. We've lived, we've laughed. But I think if there's a product that can help reduce those a little, I want it. So rather than manually working out those muscles on your face, there's now the Mannequin Overfit, and it does the work for you.
So it's pretty much like a personal trainer for your face.
I love that, yes. So I've seen people use their hands and manually massaging their face. This is the next step, the upgrade from that, a device that does all the hard work for you. It's great that this device has 2 modes, one to stimulate your muscles and one to also relax them. PJ, what this actually does is electronically stimulates the muscles, and then with doing that, it's contracting your muscles and doing the work for you.
Oh, that's good.
So what this actually does is leaves your skin and the muscles looking firm and toned.
Well, I am officially converted. I never knew I needed this in my life.
You definitely do.
But I feel relaxed, my face feels rejuvenated, and it doesn't feel as dull as before I used it. So something small, simple, that I'm gonna add to my daily routine.
Coming up, how COVID-19 is motivating more Aussies to kick the habit, and we take the stress, cost and worry out of making a will. That's right here on the House of Wellness. Welcome back to the House of Wellness. If we're lucky enough to be young and fit, we don't really think too much about what would happen if we die. However, once you've had kids, that tends to change. I want to ask, did you make a will before or after having Willow, Jo?
Oh, I'm ashamed to say it was a long time after we had Willow, because it's one of those things where you think, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, I should, and then you never make time for it.
And it can be horrible if you end up in that situation without a will. So it's not just about passing on your assets and finances, it's protecting your loved ones should the worst happen. But more than half of Australian adults don't have a valid and up-to-date will.
Younger people especially may see it as too morbid to think about or too complicated, but the reality is it's important that our loved ones are clear about our wishes, especially when it comes to who would look after our kids.
Now, one Aussie company is on a mission to take the cost, hassle and confusion out of wills with a DIY approach that can be done online in just 30 minutes.
A friend of ours passed away unexpectedly in her mid-30s without a will. And we saw the difficulties that created for her family, already grieving for a really difficult situation personally. There was then this logistical and legal difficulty added on top of it without a will. And so seeing that firsthand and got us thinking about why is it that so many Australians don't have a will?
Adam Lebowski was shocked to learn that 50% of Australians don't have a will.
There seems to be 3 main roadblocks to people writing a will. The cost, the hassle, and that it's not something that they really want to think about.
The taboo surrounding wills and death led Adam to create SafeWill.com, an online platform where users can create a personalised, low-cost, legally binding will in less than 20 minutes, all from the comfort of their own home.
We're trying to normalise wills. We're trying to open up the conversation around estate planning and will writing, and we're trying to make it easy and affordable for everyone to do so. SafeWill ticks all of the standard boxes of will writing, the appointment of executors, division of estates, guardians for children. But on top of that, we've really considered things like appointing a guardian for your pet, creating a pet care fund, specifying funeral wishes, leaving behind meaningful gifts to people and organisations who have meant the world to you. These are really important parts of will writing that are often overlooked.
Death is an awful thing to think about, and no one wants to think about, I think, especially when you've got young children. But unfortunately, things do happen, and I think it's important to think about those things. It automatically goes into the too hard basket straight away, because you get onto Google, there's all these wills that you can download, and that's just where do you start.
30-year-old Sachi Sheldon found herself at a stage of life where her assets and responsibilities could potentially outlive her.
I first started thinking about getting a will when we purchased this place a couple of years ago, and we were about to get married, and I knew that we wanted to have children in the next couple of years. So I needed something that was easy to adapt and change, but didn't take a lot of time, but also was low cost. I've had this Safe Will in place for probably 6 months now. The website was amazing. I think I spent 2 minutes on the website before I'd already signed up. So it really caught my attention for where I am at life.
And while Sachi and Adam don't look old enough to be your typical will writers, they're taking responsibility for a vital piece of life administration.
I think growing up, My view was you only needed a will if you had family trusts and you had a complicated, I guess, financial situation or divorced parents or whatever it may be. But I think the Everyday Joe blog should have a will, no matter what your situation is.
Our mission is to have every adult in Australia with a will. We're starting off with making sure that every parent in Australia has a will and that every single underage child has a guardianship provision in place for what would happen if their parents were to pass away. Instead of looking at it as a death-related product, we think that wills are something which is a really important part of your legacy. It's an important opportunity to show the people that you love how much they mean to you and to put safeguards in place to make sure that they're protected no matter what happens.
Well, that is important advice that none of us really want to talk or think about, but we can't avoid, Joe.
You're so right, Darce. And now one of the best ways to help us live a long and happy life and give our kids a fresh environment and positive example is to quit smoking. Now, I tell you, I'm not here to preach. I know how hard it is to stop. I have huge amounts of compassion for people who do smoke because it is so addictive.
You're finding people are getting ostracised and excluded a fair bit who are struggling with that.
Yeah.
The good news is that the rate is dropping. We now have one of the lowest rates among developing countries. Around 13% of adults smoke daily. But I agree, Joe, it's not as easy as it seems to quit.
We've all heard the messages, seen the TV commercials and know the risks. And if there's one positive to come out of the coronavirus, it's that it's given smokers more motivation than ever to butt out for good.
We know that if you are a smoker and you contract COVID-19, you are at greater risk of that disease being more severe, having more severe COVID-19 disease and progressing towards things like intensive care. Smoking itself does not appear to increase the risk of getting COVID-19, however, but that important element that if you are a smoker and you do get it, severe disease is more likely. Now, as a respiratory physician, I've told or asked a lot of people in my time to quit smoking, and I know how hard that is, what a big step that is for people, but such an important step at this time, and taking I guess, advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic to give you that extra impetus, that extra bit of willpower that's so difficult when one is quitting smoking is such an important step.
Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr Nick Coatsworth there, who went on to say that there's been a 300% increase in people downloading the My Quit Buddy app, meaning there's a large number of Aussies trying to quit as we speak.
And, you know, apps like My Quit Buddy are so great. It was not so long ago that there really wasn't that kind of support. It was cold turkey or nothing. Plus, I had a friend who tried writing down the reasons why she wanted to quit and kept the list handy for when cravings hit. A good one is don't have that cigarette with your usual coffee or glass of wine. Find a really uncomfortable spot, like in a cold wind tunnel, for example, or in the rain. That's not fun. There are lots of ways that you can help yourself.
There's also hypnotherapy available in an app, Joe. Quit Smoking Now also helped actor Ewan McGregor give it away.
Or there are quit smoking aids available from your pharmacy, things like gum, sprays or patches to help as well. But that pesky nicotine really hangs in there and doesn't let go easily. So don't be too hard on yourself. It might take a couple of goes, that's okay. If you know someone who's trying to give up smoking, really support them because it's not an easy thing to do. And you know what? You've got to start somewhere.
Welcome back. It's no secret that our man Hines is on a mission when it comes to putting more plants on our plates. He loves a vegetable, and so do a lot of other people, thanks to him, because he's got plenty of great ways to make veggies taste fantastic.
Hines' own website promises he can make us salivate over sprouts and have a bromance with broccoli. Now he's here to serve up a way to turn the humble zucchini into some serious pizza kapow.
A lot of the time when people start to eat healthy, they cut out pizza. But I've got good news for you. You can still look after yourself and enjoy pizza because I'm going to show you how to make one from scratch with the humble zucchini, and it is easy as this. First off, what you want to do is you want to grate about 2 zucchinis. Now you'll notice with this grated zucchini, it's quite dry. That's because I've squeezed it out over the sink to get rid of any excess moisture. Along with that, to bind our base, we just need a few simple ingredients. We're going to whisk a couple of eggs, and then we are also going to add coconut flour as our binding flour. This is a fantastic gluten-free alternative to white flour, and if you don't have coconut flour, you could use almond meal as well. And then we're making pizza, so get some mixed Italian herbs, and then last but not least, don't forget to season your food. Now, the interesting thing about this particular recipe is that not only is it delicious, golden brown, and a fantastic healthier version of pizza, but it's also low carb. So for anyone who's low carb or keto, you can enjoy this pizza as well. So the consistency you are after is a bit of a dry, pasty type feel to it. That will make sure that your pizza base binds together and is nice and crispy, because is it really pizza if it's not crispy? It's not at all. We're going to place that in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes until it's golden brown around the edges. Once your base is par baked with a little bit of golden brown colour around the edges, spread out your tomato paste, and then you can load it up with your toppings. And then it goes back in the oven for a couple of minutes to get nice and crispy on top. This is looking absolutely perfect. There's just one more thing to finish it off. That is a good dressing of baby rocket leaves. And then, of course, a good drizzle of extra virgin olive oil to top it off. See? Who said you can't have pizza when you're looking after your health? Gluten-free, low carb, can't go wrong.
I must admit, you think zucchini pizza, but Heinz's got a way of making it look and taste unbelievable.
Delicious, absolutely. What's your favourite pizza, Das?
I tell you what's underrated is a potato pizza. I'll get a potato on anything, Joe, and a little bit of mushroom.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah, how about you? What do you think?
I do like a vegetarian pizza with, these days, some crispy kale on top. I love that.
Okay.
Some of the weirdest pizzas out there are the 2-foot slice offered by a New York pizzeria, a hot dog crusted pizza from Pizza Hut, a pizza topped with lobster and top shelf tequila that'll set you back around $500 US, and the even more expensive $2,000 pizza topped with English Stilton cheese, foie gras, truffles, caviar and 24-carat gold leaf, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm not sure Heinz would approve of any of that. That's all we've got time for. The health benefits of that are a little bit questionable. That's our show for today. I'll be back with Joe, Heinz and GQ next week. Until then, check out our website. Go to houseofwellness.com.au and tune in to the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday with our own Joe Stanley and Gerald Quigley. And as always, thanks to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.